To make the top of this table, I'm gonna use two 2x6 boards. I'm gonna cut them each at 40 inches twice, so I'll end up with 4 40-inch long boards. Now, one trick that I use is to cut the first board a little bit longer. So rather than 40 inches, this is actually 40 1/4 inches. The reason that I do that is so that I can cut this end off. This end is a nice finish where I cut it with the blade. This is the rough end from the store. So since I already cut this end, I can now mark 40 inches this way and cut this off. So here's the 4 boards I just cut. These are 5.5 inches wide and 40 inches long. So to make the top, I'm just gonna put these together. All the edges on these actually lined up pretty well. If any of your boards are bowed or crooked, you can rearrange them. Some might line up better one way or the other. And so when you're happy with how they look and you decide that this is the top, you want to flip all these boards over but keep them in the same order. So this board will flip over and then come down here followed by this one. This is what it'll look like. So the reason that I did that is because I want the bottom of the table facing upward. I'm gonna mark this and then drill pocket holes to put these together. So I wanted to have the bottom because that's where the pocket holes will be, and that will never show on the underside of the table. So I'm going to mark where I want the pocket holes to go on each board. So I'm gonna use 3 screws going this way per board and 2 screws going this way per each board. So a pocket hole will go here in this board into this board. Then here it will go this way into this board. It'll follow that pattern going here into this board, and then that pattern will extend over to these boards and here as well. So I'm going to go ahead and mark all these in the same pattern. To keep myself from getting mixed up, I'm also going to number the boards. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So to actually drill the pocket holes, I'm going to use this. This is a K4 Craig jig. And what you do is put the board with the mark right down in here, clamp that secure, and then you can drill right in here and it'll make a pocket hole into the board. I have a pocket hole down into the board. It goes down in here and then comes out this side. So if you don't have one of these jigs, you can also use an actual pocket hole jig that does the same exact thing, only you hold it on top of the board rather than clamp it on, and you drill that way. Here's what it looks like when you use one of these. So it does the same exact thing as the K4 jig. This is quite a bit cheaper, and I've used this to make a ton of pocket holes. This just helps things go quicker. So now all the boards are lined up and I have the pocket holes on the underside of each one. I'm gonna go ahead and attach them using 2.5 inch construction screws. If you have clamps, this is a great place to use them. If you don't have clamps, I'll show you how to do it without them as well. So if you have clamps, go ahead and put them on the side here and there. You want them tight, but not overly tight. You don't want this to bow. You want the tabletop to lie flat. Then you can simply drive the screws in the pocket holes with a drill. So you want to sink the screws completely into the pocket hole, but you don't want to drill any further than the pocket hole is. If you go too far, it could come out on the other side. So don't over sink the screws. Once you have the screws in, you can take the clamps off and flip your board over and you'll see how it's joined. So if you don't have clamps, you're going to basically do the same thing, only this board needs to be put up against something solid because you don't want this board to move. So I'm going to put this up against the wall and then butt this board up against it so this board here will not move. Now, because this board can't move, it's up against a solid surface or a solid wall, you can safely put pressure on this board with the drill and the screws, and this won't slide or kick back. So when you want to get the pocket holes from the other side, you just turn this around. And now this board is also perfectly joined with pocket holes. To join these in the middle, I'm going to use clamps for these, but if you don't have clamps, it's perfectly fine and safe to use the technique where you wedge this up against the wall, followed by this board, and then join them together that way. And now the tabletop is together and finished. Now that the top is made, I want to go ahead and cut the legs. I'm going to make the legs from a 2x4. I'm going to make 4 legs that are 16.5 inches tall. So this is the basic position of the legs. I'm going to make an apron that goes around the legs that will look like this, all the way around, and then I want about an inch overhang from the apron to the end here. So I'm going to measure all that out. So I have the legs in the proper spot going this way with the overhang, and now I can go ahead and cut the apron piece that will go right here. So that's 37 7/8, and I need to cut 4 of these. So these pieces of the apron we just cut will go here and here, and then also up here once the table is flipped over. So just like we did with the overhang on the other side, we can measure the same way here. So a 1-inch overhang that way and a 1-inch overhang that way is right at 17 inches. So now we need 4 2x2s cut at 17 inches long. Now all the apron pieces are cut. I have 4 of the longer apron pieces and 6 of the shorter apron pieces. Now you can go ahead and get the table top out of the way. So this is how the first piece of the apron will be assembled. So you have the long pieces of the apron going this way, and then the short pieces that are 17 inches go in between those like this. So we're going to put these together by drilling pocket holes on the inside of the 17-inch piece and then putting screws from the pocket holes into these boards. So you can go ahead and drill all the pocket holes on these at once. You want to drill pocket holes on 4 of these boards, but then leave 2 boards without the pocket holes. And one thing I like to do when I drill pocket holes is that if there's any pieces with a logo, I put the pocket hole on the logo because the pocket hole is going to be hidden, so that will be hidden. That way you won't have to sand it out later. So I'm gonna go ahead and put pocket holes on each end of these boards. You can also use this just like we did with the tabletop earlier. Now that the pocket holes are drilled, we can go ahead and assemble the first piece of the apron. You'll need 2 of these and 2 of the long pieces of apron. Now the pocket holes want to face on the inside of the apron, so the pocket holes will go this way. The same thing down there. The pocket hole will be facing inward, so it'll be facing this way. Now it's important to get this as close to square as you can. If you have a square, now's a good time to use it. You can put it down in the corner and make sure everything matches up. Then when it's square, you can put clamps on the end and put the screws in the pocket holes. If you don't have clamps or you don't have a square, I'm going to show you another way that you can do both of those. So when you have all the pocket holes in the apron, you want to take 2 of the legs and put them there. So this is what it looks like from the other side. So it's in the corner right up against the apron. So to attach the legs, we're going to put a screw through the leg into the apron. So I want to drill pilot hole first to guide the screw. So I'm going to mark how high the leg comes up. So then I can drill holes for where the screw will go. Once these are drilled, you can put them back in place. Then you can attach the legs to the apron with screws. If you don't have clamps, you can do that by just holding the leg, and just be careful when you do so. You don't want the leg, the apron, or the drill to slip. So after those 2 legs are on, you just want to repeat on the other side. And here's even another way that you can go about putting the screws in if you don't have clamps or the other method isn't working well. So you can tilt the apron on its side, then put the leg on top of the apron, and then prop the leg up using a scrap piece you already have. When the leg is flush with the apron, you can put the screws in the top. So the next step is to take the 2 smaller pieces of the apron that you have that do not have pocket holes on the side. And you want to drill pilot holes on the end of each of those like we did with the legs. Then these boards will go on the inside of the table like this. So the holes we drilled are right here and here, and they'll go into the leg. So at this point, if you flip the table over, it should start to actually resemble looking like a table. So now we need to put the bottom apron on. Get rid of this for now and assemble another rectangular apron just like we did the first one on the top. If you don't have clamps, here's how you can make the apron. So first grab the long piece and then place the short piece with the pocket hole down, setting on top of it like this. That way you can access the pocket hole from the top side without having to clamp everything together. Then you can flip everything over and do the same thing. So now with the bottom piece of the apron assembled, you can put the frame of the table over top of this apron. Then you want to rotate the table to where it falls on the side. So now we're going to attach the bottom piece of the apron the same way we did with the screws on the inside of the leg. So what we're going to do is take a scrap piece of 2x2 and place it underneath the apron. So I put that here, and when it's flush with the bottom of the leg, I can go ahead and put the screws in. So remember, you want to put the screws into the apron, not the guide piece. When this side and this side are in, you can just flip the table in for in and repeat on the other legs. So to make the bottom shelf, I'm going to use 2 1x4-inch pine firring strips. And these are going to be cross-cut to length to fit down in there. So across the top is 19 3/4 inches. So I'm going to cross cut 7 of these that are 19 3/4 inches long. Okay, so here are my 7 boards that are going to make up the bottom shelf. First, I want to find the exact center of the bottom apron between the 2 legs. That's 28 inches, so the center will be right at 14. And I'm gonna mark that on both sides. And that will be where the center of the middle board goes. So if I put a board exactly in the center and then one on each side, the only spacing I have to guess on will be for the boards here and here. So I think I can get that pretty close just by eyeing it without actually measuring anything. So that's close enough for me. I'm gonna go ahead and secure these planks with brad nails and a nail gun. If you don't have a nail gun, you can always put nails down in these with a hammer. I'll also show you another way if you want to use screws instead. So I'm gonna take this board out and we'll put this one in with screws on the bottom at the very end. If you don't have a nail gun, you can attach these with screws. And what you want to do is flip the table on its side and then drill holes through the bottom of the apron where the board is going to go. So this board will sit about right here. So I'm going to drill a hole here and here. Then I can go ahead and start the screws. Then hold the plank in position and go ahead and secure these with the screws. Whenever you do this, just be careful that the screws don't angle upward, because if they come out on this end too close to the end of the plank will split. But this method will work as well. So when you have the plank secured, you can go ahead and slide the table out of the way and bring the top back. And so you want to face the side with the pocket holes up. This is going to be the bottom of the top. We're going to attach the table upside down. When we measured everything out earlier, we left a 1-inch overhang on each side. So you should be able to center the apron on the tabletop by measuring 1 inch to each side. So to attach the top, I'm going to connect the apron to the tabletop with screws. Now before I do this, it is worth mentioning that wood does move over time. There are a lot of different ways to attach tabletops. If you want to take into consideration the wood movement, you can use buttons, Z-clips, or figure-8 fasteners. The wood on this table is not going to move so far to where the table is going to tear itself apart. It might shift and there will be a crack or two over time, but this table is not going to self-destruct because of wood movement. Screws are going to be perfectly fine in this situation. I'm going to drill 5 holes on this side of the apron and then repeat on the other side. Now that the holes are drilled, I can put screws in each of these going through the apron into the tabletop. So I'm going to drill 4 holes on this apron, similarly to how I did on the longer piece of the apron. Just remember that the pocket holes are on the shorter board going this way, so don't put the screw too close to the pocket hole. And then repeat on the other side. So now you can flip it over and the table is complete. Now it's ready for your choice of stain, paint, or however you want to finish it. You can definitely sand down some of the rough spots. I personally hate sanding and I want to distress the look anyways, so I'm not going to sand this before I put stain on it. I'm going to use Minwax Weathered Oak on this table. And usually when I stain something, I do it upside down and do the bottom first. That way I can tell how heavy or how light to apply the stain and how the wood is taking the stain as I go. So the table is stained now, and that finish looks awesome. I'm gonna let it dry for a couple of days, and then we'll put a clear coat of polyurethane on it. So it's been about 24 hours since I put stain on the table. It's dry now. I'm gonna put a clear coat of satin polyurethane on. And that's all there is to it. The stain is now dry and the table is finished. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe for more upcoming videos. If you decide to use these plans for your own build, good luck. I'm sure your table will turn out awesome.